Welcome back to my channel. My name is Pam. I'm from Wellness Untamed, and I just wanted to bring you along with me for week 3 of the 3 Rivers Pantry Challenge of 2024. Just wanted to show you some ways that I was able to use some of my freezer stock, my canned stock, my cold storage vegetables, and hopefully it will give you a little bit of inspiration on things that you can do in your kitchen. So the first meal that I made since my last video was this roast and carrots and onions that I put in my Instant Pot, and then I made mashed potatoes and gravy on the side. This meal was for my dad actually because he was going in for a procedure and I wanted to make sure he had plenty of food available. And I also kept some back because while I was spending those couple days with my dad, my Tom was going to be here watching my dog in my house after he got off work. So I wanted to make sure they both had food to eat while they were here and nobody had to cook. I also had some pre-made freezer meals for my dad of some of the things I've made lately so that he can just pull those out and heat those up for once I wasn't there anymore. I did not actually eat any of this. I used my bone broth that I made on a previous video, and I used some red wine that I kind of dubbed undrinkable. It was wine that I got from Aldi that people had raved about, people that I know. It was really cheap wine. I did not find it good at all, but it actually ended up working really well in this roast. So I ended up eating leftover turkey that I had sliced in the freezer and made sandwiches out of with some of my homemade hamburger buns for my own meals for a couple of days because I just didn't have time to cook for myself too. And then I was able to, when I got home after being with my dad, I made some vanilla that I'm hoping will be good to use come next December of 24. And it's January now, so it's got a lot of time to sit and macerate. I used 3 different alcohols. I just kind of wanted to experiment. I used some vodka, rum, and then some more of that wine that I didn't care for. We'll see what it turns out as in a vanilla form. Then this is the first meal I really made for myself. It was just some pasta that I had in the freezer. I melted some butter and put some herbs and some more of that leftover turkey on that for my dinner. This is microgreens that I have going. This is nasturtium that you're looking at right now. It didn't germinate the best, but the seeds are getting old. So I was able to do the nasturtium, and I also started some brassica seeds, which did germinate well. And the great thing about microgreens is this time of year when you really don't have the ability, at least in my climate, to grow fresh greens, those microgreens really pack a powerful punch when it comes to nutrition. They're like 40 times the nutrition in microgreens versus the full-grown vegetable like broccoli or lettuce or whatever. It's way more nutritious, so little goes a long way. So that's why I decided to start working on having some microgreens available through the winter months. Then I went on to do some meal prep for the weekend. I was going to make a soup, which you'll see later in this video, that I thought I would want to put some rice into the soup, which I did do, but I made extra rice so that I could put some in the freezer for days when I don't have a lot of time to prep food. I can pull that rice out of the freezer and either use it to bulk something up or to top with sauteed veggies or whatever. It will just be a lot simpler than having to spend 45 minutes cooking rice. I was able to use some of the beef bone broth that you saw me doing in a previous video, and I didn't otherwise put a lot of seasoning in. I did put some grass-fed butter in there, but I didn't use a lot of other seasoning since I'm going to have some of this in the freezer, and not knowing for sure what I'm going to use it for, I thought I would just keep it pretty basic, and I just seasoned it along with my soup for what I used this weekend. So anyway, that'll be nice. I put a couple Ziploc bags with 2 or 3 cups of rice in it, so that'll be plenty for anything that I would want to add for a meal on a last minute notice. So we ended up also doing a steak, and I have never really made steak in the house. I always grill steak, but when I made that bone broth, I had used bones from a prime rib roast that I cut off of the bones, and then I cut the roast into individual steaks because it was looking like I wasn't going to get the roast used as a roast, so it was still partially frozen. I sliced all that up so I could still put it back in the freezer, and then I just seasoned it with garlic, some rosemary, dried rosemary that I grew here, and the garlic I grew, and salt, pepper, and I used some bacon drippings for the skillet, and I made it in my cast iron on the stove. And this was a really big steak. It was like 25 ounces. So I made that, and Tom and I were able to have that and have leftovers for the week. These are some Brussels sprouts that I grew, and I just steamed those on the stove, and salt and pepper. And then these are some root vegetables that I had in my storage, and blue potatoes, parsnips, delicata squash, and those daikon watermelon radishes, and I just cut those up and roasted them. They were delicious. And here you see the steak completed, and I have it cut into slices. And like I said, we'll be getting plenty of meals off of that this week, so I won't be doing a whole lot of cooking, at least not meat-wise. So once this was done, then the next day I was going to be using the rice and things to make the soup, but I also wanted to make biscuits and gravy. So I had some ground turkey that I got free somehow. I'm not even sure how. I'm sure I bought something and got this natural ground turkey free. And then I had some Italian sausage. My Tom is not a big poultry eater, so I thought if I mixed the two of these together, it would be palatable for him, which it was. And so I made the biscuits and gravy and the soup with that meat. This is milk that I had in the freezer that I pulled out so that I could make the biscuits and gravy. And I just wanted you to see there. That's why it's in a pitcher, is because it was thawed from frozen form, and then more of that bacon fat that I used in the biscuits and gravy rather than butter. I just used the bacon fat because the meat must, when you're using farm animals, actual farm animals grown properly, you don't have a lot of fat in your meat. So I needed that extra fat to put in this biscuits and gravy. So there's the cooked version of those two meats cooked together, and it actually was, you could not tell there was turkey in it, and I like ground turkey, so to me it's no big deal, but I wanted it to be tasty to my Tom too. I don't want to feed him something he's not interested in. So I took some of that out and I set it aside for our soup, and I also have just a little bit, maybe, I don't even think a full cup, that I put in the freezer. Sometimes I like to throw that in with something when I'm cooking a leftover of some kind as just some added flavor. And there you'll see the biscuits and gravy, and I put it over English muffins cut in half versus biscuits because I had those in my freezer. There's the soup, and what it is a stuffed pepper soup. So it has all the things stuffed peppers would have in it. And then we had that jalapeno cheddar beer bread that I made on a previous video with it, and it was delicious. So that's the extent of what I used from my pantry and freezer this week. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.